right? We now live in a world where the message will be pretty clear, and that is that if you want to invade a smaller neighbor and take their land, you can do it, and there won't be many consequences for it.
Marco Rubio now sitting next to J.D. Vance as he humiliated America's ally, President Zelensky.
Yeah, he's our head diplomat. And we ought to reflect for a minute on what diplomacy is. Diplomacy is the effort to use our value system to positively impact the world and ultimately keep us safe. And what was so heartbreaking about Friday is, if you were paying attention, you watched America's values being destroyed in front of your very eyes. For the first time, we had a president in the Oval Office and a vice president that were turning the concept of diplomacy on its ear. Diplomacy reflects the country's values, but it's also reliability. It's being cautious, it's being careful, and it's being reliable. Well, we are no longer reliable, Nicole, to our allies. They know we are no longer reliable. And Marco Rubio, he knows better. And so the question is, what happened to all these guys' integrity? Where did it go?
Well, what's the answer? You know them.
I think they think that Trump is so powerful politically in their party. And I think Marco Rubio wanted the power. I think he wanted to be Secretary of State, and he was willing to pay the admission. And the admission is you have to park your integrity at the door and do whatever this guy says, no matter how nefarious it is, how repugnant it is to who we are as a country. The idea that we're voting with North Korea and Russia in the United Nations. I mean, I remember when I didn't think your former boss was all that. I was never a huge George Bush fan. But I had to give it to him that he could, when he spoke about foreign policy, reflect the axis of evil. We are now buddies with the axis of evil.
Well, you're the first person that's mentioned Bush. I traveled the world with him when his policies post 9/11 were as unpopular as they ever were, not just in this country, but around the world. And I was with him when he would be with a world leader who would say to him, listen, when we get out there, I'm going to have to criticize your bucket of policies, but it's because they what you're saying, they violate our values. I never saw this animosity in private or public that was on display between Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and an American ally, ever.
And the fact they wanted to do it in public. And then they had Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend in there as part of the White House press pool, and he wants to ask him a question about what he's wearing when Elon Musk had just been at the cabinet meeting with a baseball cap and a T-shirt, and he wanted to say somehow that him reflecting the uniform of the soldiers that are losing their lives in Ukraine, that somehow that's disrespectful. I mean, it's a clown show, and it's so heartbreaking. I guess there could be another low. I guess we could, we're going to buckle up, and there'll be maybe another low next week. But this, we still have the Republican chairman of the Armed Services Committee calling Putin a murderous thug. Jim Langford, senator from Oklahoma, went on TV yesterday and Meet the Press and said he's a murderous thug. So there still are Republicans that are willing to speak out. But those who won't have decided that they care more about their political skin than America's values.